everyone, and welcome to another Maker Monday. So it's April now, and the cool thing about April is that April is National Poetry Month. So some of you might be doing that inward groan thing that happens when people mention poetry. But I want you to know that I have a secret for you that I hope you'll tell everyone. And that secret is that poetry is for everybody. It is for me, it's for you, it's for your mom, your dad, your siblings, your grandparents, your neighbors, your friends. It's for everybody. And it's for everybody to read, and it's for everybody to write. Today, we're going to be making some poems. And first, before we do that, I wanted to read a few things to you. A few poems, just some examples to show you how different poetry can be. Okay, so my first poem that I'm going to share with you is by Jack Proletsky. It comes from this book, The New Kid on the Block. This is a book that I read when I was in elementary school many, many years ago. And I loved it so much, and I have a copy of my own now, which is so exciting. So the poem that I'm going to read from this book is called Jellyfish Stew. Jellyfish stew, I'm loony for you. I dearly adore you, oh truly I do. You're creepy to see, revolting to chew. You slide down inside with a hullabaloo. You're soggy, you're smelly, you taste like shampoo. You bog down my belly with oodles of goo. Yet I would glue noodles and prunes to my shoe for one oozy spoonful of jellyfish stew. So that poem to me is super fun. It's got great use of language. It's got wonderful rhymes in it. It's so funny, and it reminds me of being a kid, because being a kid is just, there's so much imagination, and I think there's so much imagination to be tapped into for children. And so that's part of what poetry is tapping into your imagination. I'm going to share a poem that was written by a child for this book, Wishes, Lies, and Dreams, which is about teaching children how to write poetry. It is the book is by Kenneth Koch, and the poem I'm going to read in here is called "I Would Like to Have," and this is by a third grade child named Alona Baburka. This book was written many, many years ago. So here we go. I would like to have. I would like to have a door of hearts. I would like to have a room of roses. I would like to have a window of flowers. I would like to have a book of stripes. I would like to have a desk of red strawberries. I would like to have a boat of kittens. I would like to have a surfboard of daisies. I would like to have a pocket full of bows. I would like to have a pillow full of air. I would like to have a brush full of spots. I would like to have a name full of designs. I would like to have a tree full of money. Now that is so cool. I love that poem because it is just so imaginative, and there are just so many things in there that you would never think of. I mean, I know that we've all thought about money trees before, the last line, a tree full of money. We've all thought of that, but a desk of red strawberries, a surfboard of daisies, it's so beautiful, and it's perfect. It's a perfect example of what poetry is, just an exploration. So I'm going to share one more poem before we head into making our own poetry. This poem is by Rupi Kaur from her book, The Sun and Her Flowers. This poem is one sentence long. which is totally allowed in poetry because anything is allowed in poetry. And I'm going to read it to you right now. Together, we are an endless conversation. That poem is untitled, and it's one line, but it says so much in that one line. And I just love it because it is so deceptively simple. You think it's just, oh, you know, it's one line. How complicated could it be? Well, you know, on the surface, you know, it's pretty uncomplicated. But if you start to think about it, it's like, whoa. And that's another thing that I love about poetry, is that you dig deeper and there's always more that's there, even if it's just a one-line poem. So stick with me because we're going to learn how to make some poetry. So the first poem that we're going to try together is really fun to do in a group, a bigger group, or with just a couple of people. It just involves writing down a bunch of words on separate sheets of paper. These are written on old wrapping paper, and then putting them in some kind of order, you know, an order that doesn't necessarily have to make sense, but it can turn into something really cool. So I asked two of my little poets here at home to help me make a poem out of these words, and here's what happens. So with a team effort, we have the poem, "The wonderful sky of beauty, earth that was true, but waves fell to green grass, and the star and I to last." So I thought that the poem that my two little poets put together from this bunch of cut up words was pretty darn amazing. But I also know that when it comes to poetry, a lot of people feel very private about it. They don't really want to share it. And so that's fine. You know, that's totally fine. Poetry can be a very personal thing. It is okay if you do not want to share. But it is also okay to let go of some of those rules that maybe you've learned in school, like that, you know, it has to rhyme, or everything has to be a complete sentence, or even that it has to be good. The part of the point of writing poetry is just to write it. It's not meant to be good. It's just there as something to do, to express yourself, to have fun, to learn something new. So I just want to remind people of that. We're going to do another exercise that involves writing about sounds. So I asked some of the poets in my house if they would be willing to share poems that they wrote about their favorite sounds. And here's what happened. Hey, Tyson.
Hey.
Did you come up with something for our sound poem?
Yeah.
Feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. The low frequency of ocean waves makes me feel calm and still, in the same way as crickets chirping, so high-pitched and shrill. The high amplitude sound of a thunderstorm makes my heart beat, just like the soft swish of a basketball falling through the net, softly, low volume, and sweet.
Nice. Good job, Tyson. Hear the sound of rippling waves, they should sound sublime. I would hate it if they were waves of lime. The waves have been here for all of time. Waves are sometimes a gentle thing, but sometimes they can be as tough as grime. Waves are wonderful and absolutely stunning. Also, it sounds like the ocean is running. So as you can see, sound poems are really fun. They open the door for all kinds of exploration. You can talk about how sounds make you feel, or just explore just the way it sounds with, mirroring language like waves crash and splash and things like that. So that's a fun exercise. You can do any kind of riff on it you want. But with that in mind, that is all I have for you today for this Maker Monday. I hope that you've learned a few things, and I hope that you will remember that it's important to have fun when you're writing poetry, and to remember that it's okay if it's not perfect. It absolutely does not have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be good. What does good mean anyway? Remember that when you're writing your poetry, because your poetry is for you. It's just for you. With that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for participating and for watching, and I will see you next time. Thanks.